everyone. This is Nupur,
This is Raj.
and together we represent Valmi IoT. Agentic AI is taking the world by a storm, and we truly believe that every stakeholder using AI needs more structure, more frameworks, more transparency to be able to use it in the best manner possible. Today, we are launching Valmi, and we would like to break it down for you to tell you what we are trying to achieve. So, without further ado, let's get started. Raj, why don't we start with the problem statement? What inspired you to build Valmi in the first place?
What I kept saying was a gap between how agentic systems were built and then how they're being priced. Teams were shipping great products with AI, but when you were asked simple questions like such as what does this workflow cost, and then where we are making money, and then which customers are profitable, there were no clear answers. Right? Everything was measured in tokens, infra spend, and but not in outcomes. So that gap becomes more painful when you try to scale these systems. So while we started from my own need to make AI systems, the AI economics visible and understandable. So that's when I started thinking about it and started building it.
All right, so more of your personal challenges, or I should say, your personal observation of the market needs that prompted you to get into this. So we understand the problem that you identified, but I think it would be helpful to know what exactly is the solution we are providing.
In simple terms, Valmi helps AI companies understand how value flows through the product.
Mhm.
It connects the execution of these agentic systems and the cost associated with the system, with the execution, and then the outcomes, right? This data particularly resides in different tools. Once you start to connect these systems, you can better understand, you can better price your agents, and then you can bill your customers more fairly. So Valmi simply put, Valmi tells you this, right? So your agent has run, it has done some meaningful work, and then this is how much it truly cost you. That's what Valmi tells you. And it is very simple to integrate.
Perfect. I remember those conversations in the early days. So there's also one thing that we've mentioned on the website. We've mentioned 5 lines of code on the website. Do you want to tell more about this to people listening to us?
Yeah, so that may not be just 5 lines of code, though it could be a little bit more than that. But we are very intentional about keeping this lightweight. So you don't want to change how your agent works, right? So what you do is you simply install the SDK, something like pip install, and then you initialize it with something like value.initialize, and then you start capturing events. That could look like value.action, right? We call all of these actions, right? It's based on event-based architecture. Now everything after that is automatic. Data is collected, prepared, and ready to be used and on the dashboard. So there's not a lot of refactoring required for you to integrate Valmi into your stack.
Perfect. This sounds interesting. So we've already stated the problem statement and the solution we think is the best. Why don't we talk more about how we have built the outcome-based billing? Why we think we should focus on outcomes instead of just charging per token or for the API calls.
Token-based pricing, I think, made sense when AI was experimental.
Mm.
But what I believe is that there's a clear distinction between what software is designed to do in previous generations versus the present, right? So there is a paradigm shift in progress. What I mean by that is in earlier generations, the software was built to help do the work, whereas AI agents actually do the work. So, which means AI companies building these agents need to measure the work delivered equivalent to that work delivered is outcomes. So the outcome-based billing essentially becomes paramount now.
Mm.
It shifts the conversation. It shifts the conversation from how much it took to run this workflow to how much value is actually delivered. So that's how the conversation shifts now.
I think that helps. So, how does Walmy actually know if an outcome has happened? I think this would be an interesting question for people to know because it seems technically challenging.
Yes, it's a very interesting question. Many people asked us this question when we started out to build this, right? So it's very clear that we understand that outcome is a business dependent event, right?
Mm.
So we don't try to magically infer outcomes. Outcomes are defined explicitly by the product team. When an agent completes something meaningful, that event is emitted. Valmy then correlates it with everything that happened underneath. For instance, the model costs and retries and infrastructure spend as well. So you end up with a very clear mapping between what happened and then what it cost. But however, there are situations when an outcome is delayed. If you take, for instance, an AI recruiting agent, right? So if a successful hire is a good outcome in that scenario, so that outcome could be delayed. So the measurement of that outcome is going to there'll be some difficulty in measuring the outcome because it will be delayed for quite a bit of time. It could be delayed. So we understand difficulty to some extent, yes.
Okay, so the market is really hot right now, and we've got incumbents like Stripe coming in. There are players like PaidAI who've raised millions of dollars, and Gartner also vouches for the fact that this is really growing. So, how do you think we should be positioning Valmi in such a market?
Yeah, I actually see that as validation instead of competitive pressure, right? So AI billing is becoming a real problem, and it's emerging at different layers. Stripe approaches it from payments, which makes sense for them. Pay.ai seems to work on something similar to us. We are are at a stage where we are still testing various approaches to the market. Outcome-based billing is a disruptive model, right? So the field is green, and the competition is going to rise. Um, I believe that earlier you capture your customers is better, right? So once you stake your claims, you can reap that benefit for a long time to come. In addition, there is a slight difference in our model of distribution. So we have given out our SDKs, which are open source, MID licensed, and we also have the rest of the software available online, available on GitHub. People can install it, but it's not open source, so people can. It's available under a different license. So they can deploy it within their premises. We can help the companies do that as well. So yeah, so we are a little different from the distribution perspective, but we are still testing out in the market at the moment.
And I think this helps because we've covered the problem we saw, the solution we are building, and how we are trying to approach it in a different manner to add more value to our customers at the end of the day. But one challenge I have heard, and I'm sure people would be curious to know, is around that cost volatility aspect. So GPT-5 prices keep on dropping. How are we helping customers or companies handle that? Let's talk about that.
The volatility in costs for AI is inevitable, right? With technology advancing, costs are going to fall anyway. I mean, even if you keep the cost constant, the capability of the models is going to improve, right? So if you think about the Opus from Anthropic, if you take that example particularly, its cost has fallen. They have cut their prices by more than 50% recently. So essentially for this purpose, Valmi is going to be really useful to understand how these costs are changing in real time. It can help you make informed decisions about the margins, right? So something you can try to pass on the margins to your customers, or you can keep the claims for yourself. So that's how Valmi helps you. One purpose of Valmi is to keep track of your costs in real time. That too in real time.
Perfect. So why don't we even touch on the fact that how does Valmi actually work with popular agent frameworks like LangChain and Crew AI?
Well, I mean, we intend to work with current frameworks being used in development, right? So we have made a deliberate decision to use with popular frameworks like LangChain and Crew AI and N8N, right? Right now, we've tested it with LangGraph. One thing I want to say is Valmi does not replace your current framework. It observes what's already running. As long as your agent emits traces, Valmi can plug into that, and whether that is LangChain, Crew AI, or something completely custom, it's very easy to integrate with your existing stack.
And what about data privacy? I'm sure by this time everybody would be thinking about that because security is such a major topic. Where does customer data go when you talk about Valmi?
By default, Valmi, what it does is it captures only metadata and metric. People integrating Valmi, for instance, the development teams who integrate SDKs, are in control of what's captured, right? They can completely exclude the sensitive data. We designed this assuming that this particular system is going to be used in privacy sensitive environments. And then obviously we are stabilizing what we already built. We are testing it out.
So this is also exciting. I think we should now definitely share with the folks what are we planning next for Valmi? What is the roadmap, and what can they expect from us in the coming quarters?
We are working on a couple of different things. One is expanding the SDK support. We will quickly roll out our Crew AI and N8N support, and we'll also support other languages, for instance, JavaScript. Another direction is very exciting to me. That is the extension protocol. We are calling it Valex. It helps us and also the community to develop integrations with other services in the ecosystem, for example, payment systems like Stripe, CRMs like HubSpot, and an accounting system like Intuit. Right? We are also stabilizing our current system as well. Yeah, so that's what is very exciting to us.
So I think we've covered most of it, and I'm really getting hooked on to what Valmi is coming out with. So why don't we just quickly talk about then what exactly are we launching today? What can the people access right now when they go to our GitHub or maybe our website? What is it that they can expect?
Today we are launching the foundation, right? So what it means is you can get access to the Python SDK to integrate with your agents and workflows. And the backend of this is you get to see all this data captured in a dashboard. That's that's the cloud environment, or you can also deploy within your premises. That's something I referred to before, right? So what you see is all the data collected, transformed, and then prepared. That is visible on the dashboard. With that, what you can do is you can track your outcomes. You can start charging. You can make plans that you can start charging your customers and then bill them and then generate invoices for them. Very quickly, we are going to start integrations with payment collection platforms like Stripe. That's going to come out very quickly.
Oh, great. So I think we've got a foolproof plan, guys, in place. And I'm sure once you see the product on any of these platforms, you will really love it. We would really love to hear from you on your experiences, your feedback, so that at the end of the day, Raj and I and the team can just make it better for you to use it more effectively. So before we finally wrap up, any thoughts that you would like to share, Raj?
Yeah, we understand that AI is very moving very fast, but sustainable businesses still come down to fundamentals, right? You do not know what value is created and how much it costs. The growth is essentially going to be a guessing game, right? So we created Valmi to make those fundamentals visible and to help your system scale with intention, right?
Perfect. I think we all agree with the fact that with AI and the pace at which it is growing, we definitely need more controls around how we play with AI so that at the end of the day, we are using it for our benefit, not the vice versa. With that note, thank you once again for tuning in. We are really looking forward to you going on these platforms, playing with what we've tried to create for you, and getting back to us how we could make it better. Stay connected. We would love to stay engaged. Take care. Thank you, everyone, once again.
Thank you. Thank you, everyone.